Okay, now we want to talk about how glaciers erode and transport material. So if you recall, when we talked about rivers, we said that rivers could also erode and that they could transport. And so like in the case of the river, one way that it could erode was the force of the water pushing against something. Also, the materials that were being carried by the river could also scratch and carve against other rocks as they hit them in the river. Well, it's not quite as easy with ice because materials are not going to be flowing in the ice the same way that materials are going to be flowing in a river, but ice can also erode and ice can transport. So one way that ice can erode is by glacial plucking. And so as the bottom of the ice is going downhill, so here's our ice sheet and it's moving downhill, so the bottom of this ice sheet can freeze to rocks that are in here, and then as the ice continues to move downhill, it can actually pull those rocks out, and so that's going to be called glacial plucking. You could also have glacial abrasion, and so as these rocks that get caught up in the ice are moving downhill, they are going to be scraping up against the existing rocks that are down here, and so that's going to be called glacial abrasion. And then these rocks can be incorporated into the ice sheet itself and are going to be carried, or they're going to be transported downslope. You can also have material that is in front of the glacier. So here's the front of the glacier here, and it's going to be acting like a bulldozer, and it's going to be pushing material in front of it. And so again, that's going to be transporting material downslope. So what kind of erosional landforms result from glaciation? So the first kind is going to be that rocks embedded in the glacier can scratch the bedrock underneath it. And so it's going to cause grooves in the rock, and those grooves are caused by these rocks that are in the ice, and they're going to be scraping other rocks as they slide over the top of them. So these are glacial scratches. Okay, then you can have other kinds of erosional landforms. So what this shows is a mountain that used to have glaciers in it. Okay, now the glaciers have all melted and have gone away, and so all that you have left is the imprints left by these glaciers. Okay, so what are some of these different kinds of imprints? So you're going to have cirques and arêtes. So a cirque is going to be a linear feature. So in this picture here, you're going to see some areas where you have kind of like a valley that is going down off the mountain. So that is going to be the cirque. And then you also have the arête, which is going to be the sharp edges. So let's say that there is another valley over here. So you have a low point, so that's going to be the cirque, and then in between the two low points is going to be kind of like a knife edge, and so that is going to be the arête. You could also have three-dimensional structures, so that let's say that you have another one that is over here, and then where all three of these things are coming together, the tall point is going to be the horn, and then you could also have a three-dimensional kind of like a basin that would be here, and then that basin is going to be the tarn. So the tarn is more of a three-dimensional structure, whereas this one is more of a linear structure. This one again is going to be a point, whereas this one's going to be a line. Okay, then another interesting thing is you can have multiple glaciers, so that you have the main glacier was down here in that picture, and then you have these mini glaciers that were emptying into the main glacier. Now the main glacier, because it was larger, is cut deeper into the rock. And then these other glaciers, you notice that once all of the ice is gone, you can see that it forms a kind of like a cliff, and then there's a river that makes a waterfall that then goes into the main channel, which is down here. And so this thing form hanging valleys, because these valleys are going to be above this main valley down here where the main glacier was located at. Okay, another kind of erosional landform from glaciation is going to be a fjord. And so this is going to be a drowned glacier. So you have water from an ocean or a lake, and it is filling up part of this valley that was carved by the glacier. And so that's going to be a fjord, is where this glacial valley then meets the sea. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about depositional landforms that result from glaciation.